starting event. But welcome to the business
show. What's up, Eugene?
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to everyone that's joining us for today's show. Going to be a really cool show.
How's it, everybody?
Cool tips and tricks that's going to come through from this, and just another exciting entrepreneur journey. So welcome to everyone that's joining us for the show today. And I think last week, I wasn't in Cape Town. I was doing it from the airport. So I'm back in Joburg now. Don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. George, I think I might just join in Cape Town now. It was fun. Just from an activities perspective, and I think part of the life journey as well is we end up working. So I just had a coaching session, and it's not just about increasing your turnover and increasing your wealth, but it's also about increasing your style of living.
Yep.
How do you live? What's the stuff that you do? And I must say, Cape Town's good.
I mean, and even if I can just, if there's one thing that I like is just to remove myself from the city, because we're so entrenched in this over here. It's just to go to Cape Town and the region and just enjoy everything around there. And it just feels like there's so much stuff to do and it's never enough time. So yeah, I must say it's kind of it is quite a nice place to go and relax and chill and just switch off from the hustle and bustle. And I must say everyone in Cape Town is quite chilled, So, but yeah, I hope you had a flipping wonderful time, Looked like it. Sorry I couldn't make it. I've got provisional taxes, so that is how my month looked like. I hope everyone else on the show has actually done this. So
yeah, provisional tax. And it's a funny thing, we were talking about it earlier as well, is some of the guys that says, "Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to pay tax." Dude, if you're not paying tax, you didn't make a profit. So That's a good mentality to have. I want to say that I'll rather pay R1 million tax and know that I've made, what's the amount, R8 million profit.
Yeah, so how nice would that be,
That's where you want to get to, and that's where all of us want to get to, is get to that profit stage. And but yeah, otherwise it was really cool meeting up with our tribe members in Cape Town. So Michiel and Zita and Mark and everyone that joined us. It was nice to put a face to everyone, so really cool. And then anything else before we get into the show today, Willie?
No, I think today is going to be, especially for me, I like the techie stuff, and we're talking about cash flow. So today's giant it's going to be an interesting one, for everyone that's making this journey online. There's really nothing that deters people from purchasing from you anymore than not having a proper payment method. I see so often guys build these websites and they ask people to actually do EFTs to them. And Eugene, it's the same concept of when you do marketing, is to ask someone to phone you. People are busy. They don't want to do these types of things. So I'm super excited to pick the brain of today's giant. But Eugene, I think maybe you go ahead and introduce him. And when you're ready, let me know and I'll get him on the call.
Yeah. So I think two things that stands out, Willie, is what you just said. Is one is when we post on Facebook and we, hey guys, I'm an accountant. Here's my contact number. Call me if you want accounting services. You're never going to get that call. It's just not going to happen. You're actually wasting your time if you pop something like that up. You just wasted 10 minutes of your life. And I think the same with online business. To put a thing up to say, here's my contact details, do an EFT, and then email me the proof of payment, and then I'll let you know when your order is. It's just like, nah, it's not going to happen. If I know you personally and you send me a private message, maybe. But if I don't know you at all and I want to scale my business to the state where it can provide me the lifestyle that I want, that's not going to happen if you have EFT details on. And that's where payment gateways come in. So does everyone know what a payment gateway is? Just maybe pop in the comments there, yes or no, yes, no. And
yes.
If you have questions in the show today, just pop in the questions, because we're going to hear about Leonard's story. So we use walletdoc on some of our platforms. Leonard's from walletdoc. Just a really cool entrepreneur, and their story as well, how they grew to the business that they are today. If you don't know what a payment gateway is, it's basically a link on your website where you connect your website to another company's infrastructure where they keep all the credit card information and because you don't want to sit with that amount of security, risk, etc. So it's someone else that can handle the transaction for you. The money goes into that account and they then transfer it into your bank account. It's absolutely critical if you want to run an online business. You have to have a payment
gateway. And the thing is, guys, and I think there's quite clever solutions coming out these days. You know, if you go into Takealot, I think it's like Mobi Credit and stuff like that. So those are companies which plug into these pay gates. So I would not do it, but you can literally buy something for $20 on Takealot and you know, pay it off over 6 months. I don't know why someone would want to do that, but the reality is that option is there and it's available. So what it does is this just gives a lot of people. Some people prefer to pay by card, some by EFT, some by whatever, and these guys just specialize in that. But yeah, I think Eugene.
Let's get into the show. So I'll introduce.
Let's get into the show.
So I know Leonard he's actually one of our customers on one of our online stores, and then a while back when I met him, I saw that he does. His business is called walletdoc, and being in the online space, obviously I was quite curious and quite upfront. And I phoned Leonard and say, "Hey, what do you guys do? Tell me about your business." So there's a lot of payment gateways out there, PayFast and PayGate, and what's that 2Checkout that we struggled with. And I think support is critical when it comes to these things. And I signed up as a test with walletdoc, and just their support has been really cool. And just being able to get in touch with someone and get a hold of someone where you're not just a number in the queue has been an amazing journey through this as well. And then sat with him and heard his business story, and I just thought, yes, what a cool guy to get on the show as well, so that we can hear from a story from someone else that's gone through that same process.
Eugene, you just mentioned something about support, guys. It's so critical for your business that you can actually speak to someone when you need those people, especially when you have this online tech. We've got the same situation now where we used tech from overseas, and they've now discontinued support for that product, and we're now stuck. We now need to move. So it's a critical thing. So valid point there.
Yeah. Did you message Leonard, Willie?
Yeah, we're waiting for him to jump on the call. So guys, sorry, Eugene, before we jump in there, Eugene mentioned it. Please pop in some questions in the comments box or the chat box. So we'll ask them if we get a chance. And let's get your questions answered.
Yeah, we'll go through it. We might not answer it immediately because there is a bit of a process behind the thing. But as the time comes up, then we want to answer them. We've got our own questions as well. And this is our time we use to get the juicy details. So if you have any questions, just pop it in the comment box and we'll pass it through to Leonard. And then Leonard's joining us. Welcome, Leonard. Welcome to the business show.
Welcome,
Leonard.
Very
much. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. We're so happy to have you. Let's learn from the man.
To be here.
Yeah, thanks, Leonard. So I think we can just maybe start off by telling us what business you are part of and maybe just a bit of the story about yourself.
Sure, 100%. So I'm currently the joint CEO of a payments business called walletdoc. We're a payment processor in both the bricks and mortar and e-commerce environments. I think we're going to get into more detail around the business a little bit later on.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective, I'm an engineer, I suppose, by education. But I've always had a passion for the commercial side of technology. So I've always loved tech, but I love the business side of tech. Studied at WITS engineering, and then I spent my first 10 years of my career in a payments business, Docdock, which was part of the Paycorp whole group of companies. I'm 38 years old, father of 3 beautiful boys. Just love spending my time in the payment space.
It's really cool. Talking about that entrepreneurial thing where you said you always love the business side of things, have you always been entrepreneurial? Like, did you do the entrepreneur thing at school, or was it something that developed later on?
Yeah, so always showed an interest for entrepreneurship even at school. A friend of mine and I, we started a web design business while still in school when the internet was starting to become a thing in South Africa. So we designed websites for smaller businesses who couldn't afford to go to proper big agencies to do it. So I think that was probably the first display of my love for entrepreneurship and business. I think my second display was, coming out of varsity, and I started looking for a job. Interestingly enough, so the CEO of Paycorp, where I actually landed up working, he interviewed me for a role within one of their more established businesses called ATM Solutions. And I actually declined that opportunity because it was a big, well-established business. And, for me, what attracted me more was the entrepreneurship side of things. And it subsequently turned out a month or two later, he had decided to start a new business within that same group. And so I went back for another interview for that, and I accepted it. And I think, again, that just hit home, the love and the passion for starting something, for building something, for figuring out, for building those building blocks. I mean, that's what I love. And so I landed up there, and he actually came to me on my first day of work to say, look, what did the one business have that the other business didn't have? And I said, this is a startup, that's what it had. The other business didn't have, it wasn't a startup. And that's what attracted me to it.
Cool.
Sorry, Willie, I just want to mention, comes back to that thing about the meaning of life. And we end up going for high-paying jobs and all these sort of things, which gives us no meaning. And then we think at the end of our life, we're going to be financially free at 50 or 60, and then we're going to travel the world, and then we're going to have meaning. So we give up this 40, 50, 60 years of our life to have meaning later in life. And sure, life is a continuous progress, and we should have something to aim for. But meaning is also in every day. It's turning down the big corporate job for the startup job and just getting that meaning part of your life.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, having young kids, I often compare, growing a business to helping raise a child. When you're growing your own business, it's so much more than just money and potential reward. There's something so meaningful, fulfilling, rewarding around building something and adding value to customers' lives. And it sounds cliched, but every day I think that really does bring meaning above and beyond what a paycheck brings. And for me, that's one of the things that I love. It brings a lot of stress with it too, as I'm sure every entrepreneur out there can attest to. But but it's so much that stress, those challenges, they help you grow as a businessman, as an individual, as a human, and it just you cannot compare that with simple rands and cents.
Yeah, just makes that so much of a difference when you actually get up in the morning when you're already stressed and you go to this thing, which at least today you're going to help someone whilst being stressed, as opposed to going to someone else's venture where you're also stressed, but you're actually not passionate about it. I think that's one thing which I found as well, is that passion for what you're doing just takes you through those low points all the time, eh? So it's wonderful. We hear these stories all the time. It's nice to get that affirmation all the time that things are not always good. So,
absolutely. Entrepreneurship looks so easy from the outside and so glamorous. And yes, there are glamorous times when you're having your highs and your wins. But if you can't take some challenges and some lows, then entrepreneurship is probably not for you. It's a lot harder than what it appears to the outsider to be. But as you've said, I think the challenge and the reward and the effort certainly makes it all worthwhile.
That's one of the things about Willie, just something to mention to you as well. With the thing that I saw the other day is what entrepreneurs only post once a week on Facebook. It's part of the 20 minutes of their life that it's all of the week that they experience the high.
Absolutely.
So Leonard, just let's talk a bit about WalletDoc. So you mentioned that you worked for Paycorp. So when did you actually make that leap of starting WalletDoc, and how did this journey start?
Okay, so it's a great question. So I spent close to 10 years at Paycorp. As I said, started as a startup business. The business unit that we were in, we grew it over 9.5 to 10 years. Whilst I was there, I was introduced to who is now my partner, Dan Wagner. His wife actually got a traffic fine in the post. And, there's that period of time through which if you pay the traffic fine before a certain date, you actually qualify for a 50% discount. The challenge was that his wife got the traffic fine so late because of the postal service that she had long missed that opportunity to realize that 50% discount. And that got us chatting that there's got to be a better way for bills to be delivered from businesses or institutions to their customers. And there's got to be a better way for people to pay those bills, particularly when they want to pay via card. So that got Dan and I talking. We started having a look around in the industry as to what bill payment platforms were available, how people can and choose to pay bills via card. What we quickly realized was that most bills, especially when they come to municipal, telco, and utility bills, if people wanted to pay them on a card, they would have to go into a retail store to do so. You'd have to take your bill and your card into ShopRite, Woolies, or Pick n Pay, quote that long reference number to the cashier, and then you can pay your bill. And we then developed a prototype. We thought there's got to be, surely in today's day and age with the technology available that there is, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to receive a rich bill on your mobile device or on your PC and pay it at the touch of a button. And so we developed a prototype. We showed it to we pitched it to a few players in the industry, and we very quickly realized that we were onto something here. And so then came the big decision for me personally. Do I leave a very comfortable job in a big, secure corporate? We had grown a business over time. And I actually, if I'm 100% honest, I stood on the fence for a couple of weeks. And then,
don't we all, eh?
Yeah, and then one of our shareholders today, he actually phoned me and said, do you back yourself? He was going to be one of our funders at the time and still is a shareholder today. And my answer to him was, of course I back myself. What kind of a question is that? And he said, but you haven't left yet. You obviously don't back yourself 100%. And the very next morning, I handed in my resignation. I realized that I was hovering. And if I really do back myself, which I did, I had to act on it. And so I handed in my resignation the next morning. That was about 5 odd years ago, to start WalletDoc full-time with Dan. I think being at Paycorp, I was in the payment space there, but not in the merchant services side of the payment space. I was more on the card issuing side. But, through my experience there, I developed a love for payments, and just went into a different area of the payment space within WalletDoc. So that's really how the journey started and how the idea behind WalletDoc was initially created.
Okay. Yes, it's something that you mentioned. I think it's two things that bug entrepreneurs, especially someone that wants to start their own business. It's firstly two characteristics. The one is seeing opportunity. And I think that's what an entrepreneur does so much differently to a normal person. Everyone sits in traffic and everyone thinks, yes, the traffic again. And an entrepreneur sees all the opportunities. We see all the cars passing, or I can design a system to alleviate traffic, or I can make money out of this, etc., etc. And the money, first part, is what we consider in the beginning, but it's actually about helping someone and helping them through their journey. There's a problem that's not being solved, and you mentioned it with your partner's wife. She got that post late. It's a problem. How can I alleviate the problem for them? And then the money's kind of a side factor. The main thing that stands out for us is solving these problems, and it's something that just doesn't go away. It's almost like a core need of entrepreneurs to have this problem-solving nature. I don't know what you would call it. And so
absolutely.
It's kind of your journey as well.
Absolutely. I think entrepreneurs are obsessed with finding obstacles and inefficiencies and trying to find workable solutions for those problems and inefficiencies. And that's really where the opportunities are created. You also mentioned one point that I'd like to just bring in, is that so many people have good ideas, but they never act on them.
Yep.
And And, you know, what I've seen is so many successful people out there, their ideas aren't necessarily Elon Musk type ideas that are radical, but they've just taken an idea and they've executed it exceptionally well.
Yep.
And so many people just are afraid or are unable for some reason to execute and take that step. But if you do, and so that entrepreneurial journey starts, and if you execute it well, there's no reason why you shouldn't succeed in what you do.
Yep. The entrepreneurial journey, which is like this and this, not like this. I often joke with guys, as I said, when I started my business, I thought that if I'm going to register a company and create a website, by the next morning I'm going to have so much dosh. I actually didn't sleep that evening, but yeah, how true is that? But you have to take that leap of faith, eh? And absolutely. I think we often say to guys, you have to take action. And I think the best business ideas in the world is actually lying 6 feet under the ground because guys just did not take action, eh? But yeah, what's that saying, Eugene? You can't be great. You have to start to be great, something like that.
No, you can't. You don't have to be great to start. You have to start
to be great. Yeah, that's exactly that what you're saying. So, yeah.
And I think another point I wanted to raise just on that is, you know, so many entrepreneurs also start a business with a particular idea, and they have a plan to go down a certain road. and as they go down that road, they very quickly realize that either there's a better opportunity here, or for some reason this road's not going to work, and so they pivot. Some businesses pivot significantly, others only a small amount. But it's that ability to adapt to change as those obstacles come to you in that road. And if you can take advantages of those obstacles, so you can be successful in your entrepreneurial career. If you're not prepared to adapt and to change and to pivot where necessary, I think that entrepreneurial road is going to be a lot more challenging.
Yeah, definitely. And we can never plan the future. We start the business with this idea in mind of what it's going to be in 5 or 10 years from now. And most of the time, 99% of the time, the business 5 years later is nothing what we expected it to be when we started that business.
Absolutely.
So something that you mentioned now that I'm quite curious about is a lot of these things we've actually mentioned it quite a few times before as well. And it's great to have that reaffirmation of the characteristics of an entrepreneur starting that business and being able to be resilient and being open to change and being able to innovate. And all of these are characteristics of the entrepreneur itself, but it almost sounds like behavioral traits. And we've been debating about this. Are entrepreneurs just a different type of person? Are they born, or can anyone become an entrepreneur? If you're not resilient, you can't innovate, how can you be successful as an entrepreneur? And then on the other side, maybe those characteristics come out when you start a business. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think it's one that so many of us, grapple with and try to answer. Look, I definitely think that there are people that are not necessarily born to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy road. So I do believe, some people, it's just not for them. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, there've been hugely successful people, who have kind of climbed the ladder, the corporate ladder, so to speak. I think that some people you can see are born with that business aggression, that drive to create something. But I certainly believe that there's also a middle ground whereby there are a lot of skills that can be acquired and learnt over time. I mean, even at my time, in Paycorp, I mean, I was quite senior within the group, so I had a lot of responsibility in terms of big decision making. So there was pressure, but that pressure can never be compared to the pressure of making decisions in your own business. And so you learn how to cope with stress on a different level in your own business. You learn how to pivot and deal with change and challenge and time, in a very different way to what would be taught to you in a more corporate kind of secure environment. And so although I think there are some people that are born with some of the natural characteristics, I certainly believe that certainly if you're going through your first or second entrepreneurial journey or business build, a lot of those lessons are learned along the way. I suppose the big point is to try and not pay too much a price while learning those lessons.
Always cost money when on there.
Exactly. We all pay school fees. It's just a question of how much we pay. But it's also part of the journey. I mean, I know personally I've also had to learn that some of the setbacks that we have faced, in hindsight, some of them could have been avoided more easily, others maybe not. But either which way, they've taught us such valuable lessons in terms of the road forward. We make better decisions. We consider things that we may not have ever considered before. We're making decisions both operationally and strategically. And so the entrepreneurial road, if I can summarize it in a different way, it's so much about learning and growing as part of, it's not just the business that's growing, it's the entrepreneur and the management team themselves that should grow along with the business.
Yeah, it's so true that you've said this. I think when you enter the entrepreneurial journey, every single day that you go to work is a learning experience. And what I found was that if you are not prepared to do that, that's really where you get left behind. But it's so true for everyone. Tell me, Leonard, you mentioned something that you've learned quite a lot of lessons, hard lessons and stuff like that. What would you say were some of the biggest challenges that you had to work through in this journey?
I think a couple of things. I think picking partners, and I'm not talking about a business partner. I'm fortunate that myself and my business partner have an exceptionally good, positive, productive relationship. I'm talking about outside partners. So, if you partner with another organization to jointly roll out a product or service, it's obviously very important to select the right partner, that your objectives are aligned. Otherwise, that causes friction and tension down the line. But I think it's also important, how the saying goes, failing to plan is planning to fail. I think in a corporate world, there's potentially a lot of over planning, 5 or 7 year forecasts. As an entrepreneur, sometimes you don't even know necessarily what you're going to be doing in a month or two.
These accountants, I don't know why they told this to people.
So when I say planning, I'm not talking about over planning, but when you start your own business, you are so focused on getting out there and trying to start generating revenue. But to the people you're selling to, they have established businesses more often than not. They've got a lot of pressures and priorities, and so although what you may be selling to them is of value and of interest to them, they may only make a decision in a month, 2 months, depending on what you sell. Sometimes the sales cycle is even longer. And so when you're setting up a business, it's very important to plan for worst case scenario. Obviously, you hope for the best and you work for the best, but plan for the worst. And so when we were raising capital, one of the things that our shareholders said to us, who are seasoned businessmen, they took a look at our forecast and our plans in terms of revenue generation and sales. And once they had finished looking at it, they said to us, look, it's probably going to cost and take 2 to 3 times as much as you're forecasting. Yes. And they were right. It always takes longer. It takes decision makers on counterparty side longer to give you the go ahead. And so you've got to be prepared for that. Otherwise, if you're not, you run out of cash very quickly and you'll be left with very few options. Especially when you start a tech business, I can imagine that burn rate in the beginning is freaking. You get to the place where the runway is just like a month away type of thing, which can be quite stressful. Absolutely, very stressful. A part of the fun, but hugely stressful as well. And once again, it comes back to that stress and reward. As you start to slow that burn rate, that excitement around taking the business to its next level kicks in. And it's not giving up. I think also one of the lessons that I've learned is perseverance. If you're not able to persevere, then entrepreneurship is not for you. And it's perseverance on every level. It's financial, it's operational, it's sales from a business development perspective. I can think of a story where one of my salespeople, I think they must, the door got closed when they were pitching to a particular client, and it got closed again and again. And I think on the 6th time, the particular client said, "Come for a cup of coffee." I think he just said yes, just to stop the salesperson from phoning him. And we landed up doing a deal. And he like said afterwards, you know, it was just the perseverance. And I think that's a lesson certainly that I've taken as part of my entrepreneurial journey in every discipline. Just persevere, keep going. If you give up too early, you know, you just don't get that reward.
Yeah. Yes, there's quite a lot that you said now that I want to ask questions about your habits and all that. But I also want to just get back a bit to walletdoc.
Yes.
What differentiate, because there's quite a few different payment gateways out there. What made you different, or why did you decide to go into a market where they already existed? Because you're doing business to consumer sort of stuff as well now, where end users, not just big corporates, can use it. Just tell us a bit about the tech side of it and what differentiates.
Sure. So before I answer that, I'm going to give a little bit more background as to the history of walletdoc. I mentioned that we were in the bill pay space, primarily in the B2C space. We very quickly realized, though, that there was an opportunity. We had built this great payment technology and payment platform, and we thought, you know, let's diversify some of our revenue streams, leverage the tech that we had already created. And so we decided to offer payment services to businesses of all shapes and sizes. And so we developed what we call card-present payment services. That's the deployment of debit and credit card point-of-sale terminals into bricks-and-mortar retail environment. We do QR code payments, you know, where you scan that square barcode and you can initiate a card transaction without a physical piece of plastic by just scanning it with your phone. We offer payment links, which really enable businesses to collect payments from their customers remotely via the distribution of a payment link. So that link can be put onto invoices, statements. It can be sent on email, SMSs, WhatsApp, really distributed through any electronic channel, enabling businesses to collect remotely when they're not face-to-face with their customer. We also offer recurring payment solutions. So for businesses that want to collect repetitively from their customers, a lot of those businesses are doing it manually and insecurely. We provide a portal through which that can be automated and secured. And lastly, we also, as you said, in the payment gateway space. So we offer e-commerce processing services to businesses that sell goods and services online, both through traditional shopping cart environments as well as those that have customized payment requirements in the e-commerce space. So talking about pivoting, you know, we really realized that there was a huge opportunity in the space. And so we decided to enter into that space a couple of years ago. I suppose to answer your question now that background has been set, what makes us different is a few things. You know, if you take a typical business, you know, if they want a credit card machine, they may think of going to their bank. If they want a QR code, they might go to some of the more commonly known QR code providers in the marketplace. If they want a payment gateway, that's a different provider. And so the point is, if you need 3 or 4 different payment channels, that's 3 or 4 different relationships, different commercial agreements, different daily settlement and reconciliation processes. So that's a lot to manage, and it's inefficient. If you come to walletdoc, we can offer you all of those payment channels under one roof. That makes for a much more efficient working relationship. We are far more cost effective to merchants. So whether it's point of sale machine or a payment gateway, we are cheaper than the other providers. So the more you process, the more money you can save. And particularly in the payment gateway space, I know a lot of the other payment gateways as a merchant, you know, when you want to be settled, you've got to manually request settlement. And then a couple of days later, the money gets placed into your account and you get charged for that settlement. Whereas with us, you get settled every business day. You don't have to manually request settlement. So your cash flow is improved, as well as we don't charge for settlement. So again, reducing cost for merchants. Over and above that, we also provide a really sophisticated suite of reports whereby we can actually automate the reconciliation of what the bank has settled you every day. Whereas that's often a very manual and time-consuming process for merchants. We automate that entirely. So we're an end-to-end payments business, all under one roof, better price, better tech, better offering.
Better everything. That's everything. Listen, Leonard, so we've got a question from one of the viewers. They're asking, are walletdoc able to accept or work with foreign income?
So we do accept payments on international cards. But the recipient of that payment has to be domiciled in South Africa for obviously Reserve Bank regulations reasons. So if you're a business and you want to accept payment from overseas customers, that's not an issue. We do that. We've also recently on our payment links introduced multi-currency processing. What that means is that if you've got a customer that's sitting in America, instead of him paying a rand value, and his bank will do a currency conversion to debit whatever the dollar value is off his card, and he's never quite sure what the exact dollar value is, he will be able to enter a dollar value on screen. He knows exactly the dollar amount that's going to come off his card, and you as the business are obviously settled in South African rands into your bank account here. So yes, we do, provided you're receiving the funds into South Africa.
And with that, the same principle apply to your payment gateway for the e-commerce environment?
So we're busy bolting on the multi-currency processing into the shopping cart e-commerce environment as we speak. So today it's for our payment link only, but in the not too distant future, the answer is yes.
But yeah, so that's super cool. I mean, I kid you not. So I've tried this selling stuff overseas, and you know, for everyone that's just listening, if you use someone like I wouldn't say their name or Payfast, then if you link it to a dollar price, when the person pays, it actually converts it to rand, and that's the deterrent for those people to purchase from you. It's just like your sale is just out the window right there and then. And
Absolutely.
I mean, to get something registered with Stripe, then I've tried to check out and everything. So yeah, this is I can't wait for you guys to actually have that functionality. I think that's really going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
You know, for the guys that's on our bootcamp and in our community, you know, that really opens up the door to actually take your business overseas. That's a game changer that day.
Absolutely. So we're trying to make, I think that every merchant that has an online presence knows that, you know, cart abandonment is their biggest worry, and how do they reduce cart abandonment. And these are all the things we're trying to do with the various services that we're introducing, whether it's multi-currency or what we also support is advanced recurring subscriptions within WooCommerce. So I know some of the payment gateways do support recurring subscription, but not for multiple recurring subscriptions in one checkout. And we support that as an example as well. You know, if somebody wants to purchase multiple different recurring subscriptions, don't make them check out multiple times. Again, that's going to increase cart abandonment. That's something that we support in WooCommerce as well. So the idea is to really just try and make it as friction-free as possible, both for the end customer as well as the merchant.
I think that's extremely important.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a big struggle for us, the international payment side of things, to link that up and to sell the products. And like Willie mentions, then we have to link PayPal or Stripe, but then you have to register a different company. Oh, it's been such a nightmare. So having that functionality, Sonia says, I want to hug this man right now. It's definitely a big problem in the e-commerce space, is that cart abandonment and the different currencies and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's what makes walletdoc different as well, is you're innovative payment service provider. It's not just a service provider that created something and now they better up the services. You're constantly changing and you're constantly adding and you're growing as the need arises, even now with lockdown. And what the process was, now everyone then shopped online. I mean, it's changed the way we do business. And everyone needs to adapt to that. And the payment gateway providers and the online payment providers and they also need to come to the party for stuff like this. And it sounds that's where your differentiating factor comes in as well, is being able to innovate and being able to keep up the change because of your business model or the way your team is structured.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is innovation. And a lot of the new products and features that we introduce are as a result of the demand, A, the demand that we see in the marketplace, and B, the challenge that we see some merchants having to face. So we spend a lot of time engaging with our sales personnel, understanding what the needs of their existing and potential customers are. And if there's if we see a common trend that a lot of people are looking for a unique service or offering that may not be readily available in the marketplace today, we obviously try to pounce on that and see if that's something that we can bring to market as quickly as is reasonably possible.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Leonard, so you guys are quite involved with your clients, and it seems like you listen to them and stuff like that. One thing that we spoke about Yeah. One thing that we spoke about before you jumped on the call was actually having support in this tech environment. How do you guys deal with your support on a daily basis? Just for the guys who might run into a problem, we don't want to sit and wait for weeks on end like some of the other guys. So how would you deal with the support?
Yeah, so I mean, I think dealing with us, is not one of the big incumbents. Is certainly an advantage from a personalized service perspective. We keep in very close contact with our customers, not only as part of the sales process, but post the sales process, in terms of making sure that what we're delivering to them is obviously what's expected. From a support perspective, we've got a dedicated support team constantly monitoring. We try to be proactive as opposed to reactive in terms of in terms of any issues that may be picked up. And yeah, I mean, we've got a team that knows that every time if there's an issue, customers are not selling and they're losing revenue. And so customer uptime is at the heart of everything that we do. So if a customer is experiencing an issue, everything else gets dropped, and we tackle that issue to make sure that there's no uptime, as little downtime as is possible.
That's possible.
And so really, it's a mindset, it's a discipline. It's we try and imbue that in every single employee, that it becomes part of the culture of the business.
Yes, there's so many cool things, but it sounds like your whole business. We've had a few interactions, and the support and the level of personal touch and the innovation, and how you really care about the consumer and your end user that uses the product and stuff is really a game changer for South Africa. Then we're running out of time. I have one more question. I don't know if Willie has one more question. Firstly, I just want to tell everyone we're moving all our stuff to walletdoc just because of the service and interaction that we've been getting, and then the innovation, that it's not a stagnant service provider. And there's quite a lot that I still want to ask about it, but I want to ask one question.
We'll book lunch.
Looking forward.
There's just a personal question, especially for me, and I know for Willie as well, this last 2 weeks has been absolutely insane with work and the pressure and getting deliveries and all that sort of stuff. And you mentioned stress and the ups and downs quite a few times as well. How do you deal with this stress and the overload of work sort of thing when it gets that much? Do you have like specific things that you do to keep your motivational state at a certain level?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I think it's a question that every entrepreneur grapples with, and at times have not achieved the right balance, myself included. So I've had lots of times where I've felt burnt out and exhausted, and and then you very quickly realize, I think now that I'm a few years into the journey, I've realized that work-life balance, despite being an entrepreneur, is absolutely vital. And if it's only work and only work and only work, you get to that point where you are burnt out and you aren't actually as efficient as you possibly could be, which doesn't serve your own interests or the interests of the business. So it's about work-life balance. I try and dedicate time to my family. I try and dedicate time to exercise as well, is a big thing. So I've read Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club, and not that I follow it to the T, but I think the principle of dedicating some time, to exercise, which is super. It's been great for me and my personal health. Meditation or prayer if you're religious, and then some time for learning and work as well. And some of the learning that I try and do is completely unrelated to the business that we're in. So it could be learning about the financial markets or property or how to build culture or just something completely different. And you try and do that on a continual basis so that you're growing yourself in as many ways as you can in addition to your business. And for me, that's been, I suppose, been a huge help in trying to avoid, being overstressed and feeling burnt out. So that's just my own personal approach.
It's also the thing we spoke about this morning, Willie, about, I don't want to get into too much detail about it. So myself and Willie have been trying to do this as well, but we feel guilty. Guilty taking that time for yourself. And, for now, Willie, go for it.
I've got one last question. So Leonard, I just first of all want to say thank you for the time that you've taken to come and share with our community. You know, we love to get these giants in here. We believe that we can, you know, help people by actually getting them to learn from others, to not make those mistakes that you spoke about. So the last question that I've got for you, if you've maybe got 3 tips for our viewers as to how they can grow their businesses online.
Sorry, and just when we finish with that as well, Willie, maybe just how do people sign up for walletdoc? What's the process?
Yes.
I think there's quite a few people that want to join you after the show. How do they get in touch with it? Cool, go for it.
100%. No, so look, I think that's a great point, and it's not easy. It's obviously a very crowded marketplace. I think no matter what you do and what you're selling. But a couple of things that I've learned, I mean, I think use data as much as you can. Data is so valuable. I mean, it sounds simple, but so many businesses, you know, I do a Google search for socks as an example, and certain companies will obviously track that. Others won't. And then now when I'm surfing Facebook, I'm getting the various sock ads, and I'm naturally going to go to those sites. So it sounds so obvious for those that are doing it, but you won't believe how many people aren't doing it or aren't doing it effectively. And I think utilize professionals to help you. You know, it looks so simple on Facebook, but they're tricks of the trade, and the professionals know what they're doing, and they can really help you grow your revenue by using data to communicate with the right customers effectively. So that's the first point. I think the second point, if it works for your business, is consider appropriate partnerships. You know, as a small business and as a growing business, I think our common challenge is scale. How do we grow as quickly as we possibly can with limited resources? And so establishing partnerships with appropriate organizations can certainly help. I mean, I'll give you an example. In our business, when we were launching our business, our fear was that our brand was unknown, and would people trust us with payments and dealing with money? And so we did a deal with Absa Bank, whereby we got, you know, they wanted to be associated with fintech innovation, and we wanted the credibility of their brand. And so we did a deal. And if you look on our platform, it actually says in association with Absa. And for those that are worried, that brings a lot of credibility, and it helped us access their distribution in terms of their client base. So for us, that worked nicely. So if you can apply that principle in your business, that may help you. And lastly, I think it's service. And it sounds silly, but, you know, poor service is so commonplace in the world today, not just South Africa. I mean, I'll give you an example. We ordered groceries from 2 different retailers. One retailer, it was just a disaster. The order never came. They double charged us. The next day, it still hadn't come. The other one delivered in 45 minutes, delivered right, and that's the one we use going forward. And so exceptional service today, unfortunately, is actually almost a unique selling or value proposition. And so if you give customers better service than everyone else, you're going to get repeat customers. So those would be my 3 points that come to mind. Lastly, to answer your last question with walletdoc, I mean, we certainly would value engaging with your audience. We would love to hear more about your business, what it is that you do, and how we can possibly help you. Visit our website, www.walletdoc.com.
I'm going to share it on the call for the guys.
Brilliant. All of our details are there. We would value the opportunity to engage with you, to learn more about your business, and to see if there are any synergies or ways in which we can work together. So thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
It's been a really cool show. I wish it was longer because I still have so many questions. I think you provided just so many valuable insights, not just from a tech and a business perspective, but also from a personal and a growth perspective as an entrepreneur. So I just want to say thanks, Leonard, and we'll share all your details with our tribe members. We'll share it on our private WhatsApp groups, and then we'll share it on our social links so that if you guys do want to join up, we are moving all our stuff to walletdoc. So really cool company. It's difficult to find someone that provides such a pivotal part of your business, or that's a partner of such a pivotal part of your business, to be so innovative and engaging with smaller businesses. So we're moving all our stuff. If you want to move, we'll post the links everywhere of where you can find information to move your stuff as well. and then you can see if you want to join walletdoc. But otherwise than that, Leonard, really thanks for joining our show and sharing your insights.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
so
for
much,
your time.
Leonard.
Appreciate it. Take care. Keep safe.
Take care,
To all
everybody.
our viewers, thanks for joining us. We
Cheers,
can't do
guys.
this without you. Thanks for joining us each week, and awesome week, guys. Ciao.
Cheers.
Bye.